I've been in business for 32 years. And, a lot of folks that are in business, they're going to talk to you about the wins. How they win this, how they have this, all the things that they have. Just to let you know, I'm more a person who's going to talk to you about not the wins, but I'm going to talk to you mostly from what I learned about the losses. I started my business 32 years ago, and back in 2008, I lost it. So I had to restart my business twice. I've been in business for 32 years and have weathered a number of years of storms and forth. One of the things that Fernando mentioned is that I've actually mentored thousands of people. I've done at least 1,000 plus people's goals, and I've also mentored hundreds of business owners and helped start a great number of businesses. One of the things that I realized with mentoring is you want to mentor someone not from their wins, but from those losses, like I said. So when you have a mentor, you want to learn from that person so you don't go through those times. One of the things that when I've consulted with businesses, there are 3 things that I've noticed of businesses that I work with. I'm going to share with you hundreds of thousands of dollars of money that I invested in basically training. My purpose is to bring value to others. So let me just start out. So the 3 things that I've noticed in business is that business owners will be thinking as technicians and not really be thinking as business owners. That's number 1. Number 2 is that business folks don't really know where money is actually made. So I'm going to cover that. And then 3, I'm going to cover where they actually lack in business is basically building systems and processes. Those are the 3 things that I'm going to talk to you about today. You probably have heard this statistics that the overall survival rate for small business, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, is about that 20% of all businesses fail within the first year. So, and approximately 50% of all small businesses fail within the first 5 years, and only 30% of the business will survive more than 10 years. Our company has survived 32 years. And I have to say in a lot of the reason why we've survived 32 years is my emphasis on processes and systems and operation procedures. That's the reason why we're still kicking. And we believe that the future is even brighter for us. Going to last another 60, maybe 100 years, who knows, right? So I just want to give you a case study. Right, there's many businesses that I could talk about, but I figured, give you an idea of what this technical type thinking is about and how it starts. Really, if you let's look at a typical auto repair shop. And let's just say that this person, Sally, is working at Toyota. She's a mechanic and she wants to start a auto repair shop. She does real well. She has great rapport with the clients. She's very, very technical and she could diagnose problems. And she one day decides she starts a business to go buy a shop and start working on cars. And then very quickly she finds out that hey, it's a little bit more than just changing brakes and giving a car a tune-up and doing that all day. She has to get to a place where now she has to hire employees. She has to figure out what the color, of her logo, what's the name of her company, and then she's inundated with all these things related to supply and marketing, quality control. What is she going to do with occupancy? What is she going to do when they open up another shop across the street with another car repair place? These are things that quickly happen to a business owner, and they get overwhelmed. And this happens every day. I see it every day. Like, for instance, a restaurant person who starts out great with customers or great with in the back office and making food, and yet they struggle on the front end. They struggle with the processes, and it consumes them. And I have to share this with you that you don't want a business that consumes you, right? I've seen so many business owners that have to work 7 days a week in their business, and why? Because they don't have any processes. And it's something that I always say is like, don't give up your life. Don't sacrifice your life for business. That's what I always tell people. If you sacrifice your life for business, you're actually doing a deal with the devil. Listen, you don't have to go down to Georgia with the violin and stuff. All you got to do is just say, look, I'm gonna work so hard. I don't care how many hours. I don't care about my family. I don't care about my health. I'm just got to, keep this business going. Well, guess what? You know what? That's a deal with the devil. No one wants that kind of a deal. Believe me, that's not the deal I wanted. And I'm going to tell you, as soon as I started to think about becoming a business owner and versus a technician, my life changed. My life got actually easier. And you have to get to that place where you have that shift. It's very simple. Someone who, let's say, is a chef, right, learns how to do this, but they have to run the business. They have to know about the business operations and how to hire, and then operational procedures and hiring procedures, all these kind of things. So if you find yourself in this situation, this is what I want to share with you that you got to do. How do you basically get out of being a technician? And the ways you get out of being a technician is, one, you have to have a mind shift change. You have to change your mental thought about who you are and what role you're providing. Listen, when I started starting my business, I had some folks, brothers from my church, they came to my office and they prayed for me on the chair. They prayed for me, and from that very moment, I actually was changed. They prayed for me about me being a business owner, about preparing for the future. When you sit in a chair, that's what you got to believe. When you sit in this chair in your office, that you're no longer a technician, but you are a business owner. And you change that mindset. And as soon as you change that mindset, you're going to start to attract what you're looking for. You're going to attract people. You're going to attract mentors. You're going to attract opportunities that you're going to see online, Facebook, and says, hey, here's this seminar, here's that seminar, this, to try to teach you, to change your mindset, and you'll embrace that new role. And as soon as you embrace that new role, you start looking different, you start dressing different, you start thinking different, and you start becoming what the person that you wanted to become, that business owner. Second thing that you have to do is you got to educate. You got to educate yourself, and you got to get training, and you can't be afraid to spend money. It says, the Bible basically says you got to buy the word, in a sense. You got to buy that wisdom. And that's what I've done. Every day I'm buying wisdom. Every day I'm going through and doing a seminar online, going to a conference, listening to YouTube. Every day I feed positive stuff about business, into my mind. The other thing that you need to do is that not only workshops, business courses, but you have to have a mentor. I have a mentor. I'm actually right now, I have a mentor, to give you an idea, I spent $1,500 on mentorship for my recruiting sides of my business. $1,500 every month, and yet it was worth every penny, right? Because it keeps me in an area where I'm talking to people who are very competent in what they do, and they're sharing with me things that really, that they've used to really dominate this field. And that's what I need to know as quickly as possible. So I have mentors, right, for my business. And third, you got to develop a business plan. There's so many people, I know so many MBAs that are out there that won't even tackle to start. MBAs, they got a Master's of Business Administration. They've been trained, and yet they won't even write a business plan, right? And because they don't see the value, right? No, but the thing is the reason why you write a business plan is so that you could do, market research, you produce a business model, you do financial planning, but the real reason you do a business plan is to learn about business. You don't have to go to college to get a $100,000 degree. No, you could write a business plan. And I wrote 3 business plans when I first started the business. I had a conversation with a man. I had written 3 business plans: America Computer People, Staffing People America, I forget what it is, and then 1-900 Help Desk, which basically turned into Computer Geeks. I was on the wrong one. Yeah. So I had the Computer Geeks idea way before it started. I met a person that I used to work with, and I asked him what business would he start, and he said I would start a technical staffing business. And said, me with all confidence, since I had written that business plan, I said to him, that's exactly the business I'm starting. And guess what? 3 weeks later, he sent me the first person, and within 5 months, I had like 12, 20, 15 people with their business cards that worked for me across 5 states. And it all started with that business plan. This is something that I want to encourage it's so easy to write one. There's so many templates online. There's applications online. There's no reason you can't write a business plan. Plus, you could do SCORE. You could go to SCORE, which is a part of the SBA. They're downtown in most major cities. You could go to SCORE, and they will help you write a business plan. In addition, there's also small business development centers, SBDCs, that you go to. There's so many in the city. Here in Chicago, they got the Illinois Hispanic. They got the Joseph Center. I'm sure in other cities that you could go to the SBDC, and they will help you put together a business plan. In fact, I remember when I was 27 years old, there was a business planning course through the Latin American Chamber of Commerce, and I walked up in there as a young man, 28 years old, walked in, and I started my course, and the people that I met, it's funny, they all became people that impacted my life, and they became my friends, lifetime friends that I met as I started to write that business plan. So that's something I want to encourage you to do on that side. Now, I want to share with you is the second thing that I see in business is that people really don't know how money is made. And I want to share this with you that, a lot of people will talk about having the moolah, the green, or hey, I'm going to just stack up bills. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stack bills. I'm just here to stack bills. Right? Money is not made by you just touching or handling money. Money actually exists between two people. If there was no two people, money wouldn't exist. And in fact, money doesn't necessarily exist in education. It doesn't. It doesn't require you to have education for you to make money. And I will tell you, my daughters used to sell taffy apples in church. They didn't have the education. They were like 9 years old, 8 years old. They would be walking around with 100 something in their pockets because of the money that they made, because they knew something. If they could exchange that taffy apple, someone would give them $1 or $2 for that taffy apple. And especially if they bought the taffy apple for 50 cents, they made a profit, right? And they walked away with that profit. So money, it doesn't require education to make. But what it does require, and I got to tell you, you got to write this down because this is the key thing. Money requires, and it's heavily reliant upon you building trust, credibility, and reputation. And that basically is all rooted in what they call a linguistic domain. And what is that? A linguistic domain is an area where communication and relationships exist. That's a linguistic domain. You have to be in relationships and you have to be able to communicate clearly with another person. But the key thing is TCR, trust, credibility, and reputation. Write it down because that's what you got to be building. Trust, credibility, and reputation. Now, let me just kind of, where does this all come from? Let me just kind of start this out. Is that the beginning, when there was no money, someone would trade something. They would trade, let's say, a cow for wheat. And that went on, right, at the beginning. There was no money to have a form of a standard. No money, but they traded it. And what held them together was that trust. And that was very big back then, that trust. In fact, if you heard business was so a level of trustworthy is that you would actually have a bench at the entrance of the city. And if you did something that lied or you didn't pay someone back, guess what the other business owners would do? They would break your bench. And what's that called? A bankrupt. You become bankrupt. Bankruptcy is from breaking of the bench. That's basically trust, right? Breaking trust, reputation, credibility. So that's kind of how it all started, this exchange. But let me just kind of tell you, you got to realize that when I to another person, there has to be something that holds us together. And that's basically trust. That's trust. Then if you look at the history of money, there's coinage. There was some kings that had gold, and they would have to send that gold to another king. The problem with that is when they would send that gold, they would get attacked. So one day, one of the kings said, hey, why don't I just write you a script and say, look, I owe you this money. And once he did that, that revolutionized the financial situation for those countries. And that's what created the Renaissance. And I will tell you, be prepared, because there's going to be a shift, a financial shift in the marketplace that is going to do, it's probably going to be that cashless society that's going to come in, and that's going to revolutionize everything. And when it does happen, prosperity, tremendous prosperity is going to be made. Money's going to be made. It just give you, a little prophetic conversation related to that's coming into our future. The same thing that happened in the past, it's coming into our future. So then, what are the methods? You probably were wondering, how many ways there is to make money? And really, there's only 3 ways. There's a 4th way for someone who's spiritual. I'll share that with you. But there's only really 3 ways to make money. And the first way is, and a lot of folks will think, oh, well, I'm talking about something else. But the first way is basically renting your body. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, what is this? Oh, what this? No, renting your body. If you work by the hour as a consultant, or if you work by the year, you are renting your body. Guess what? When you rent your body, you got to realize something, that your body lives in this concept of time, and there's only 2,000 hours in a year, right? And when I first started the business, I said to myself, you know what? I'm not that smart. At the most, I could probably charge $60 an hour. And if I basically worked for 1,000 hours and I sold 1,000 hours, I'd basically max out my income at only about $60,000. I'm like, that's not, first of all, I'm going beyond that, and I'm not making any money. You got to realize when you were renting your body is limited in the hours that you could do. Listen, Johnny Cochran, I know he defended O.J. Simpson. He was in the probably 10,000 an hour range, right? I'm not, you won't be able to get that high renting your body. In order for you to increase the value of renting your body is that you got to do it through increasing the value. But the way you do that is through training and by building trust. If you're working for someone, you need to train. You need to go to, the community college and learn, Excel, Word, all those other software packages. You got to grow. You want to make more money? You got to have more skills. You have more verbal skills. You have to have more technical skills. Now listen, I've gone at college. When I was working at Amoco BP, they sent me to Dale Carnegie. They sent me to all this training that I did, let alone I had like 8 different certificates in desktop computing, from Word to whatever. I had a certificate in it. And that's to build my value. The other way to make money is called the distribution conversation. And this is where you're part of a, let's say, shareholders or something, or you own part of a company with someone, and you distribute it at the end of the year and you have a conversation. That's called the distribution conversation. Now, I don't really espouse having a partnership. In fact, I don't have a partner. But at the end of the year, I go, hey, Bennett Santana, how much money you want to take home? And I go, Bennett, why don't you take it all home? And I'm like, oh, Bennett, you're so kind. You're so generous. I love your generosity, Bennett. I have that conversation with myself at the end of the year. Exchange, it's very easy because there's only one person, right? But imagine if I had that conversation with someone else. I don't know if you're worth that, Ben. Maybe you're not worth that. And then we'd have to go back and forth. I'd hate that conversation. So just to let you know, distribution conversation, power conversation. The other area is area of anticipation. And this is where you're making an informed decision about tomorrow. And you're making an investment, and then because you foresee a future trend. Listen, you buy a house here in Chicago, it will technically grow. But let me just kind of tell you, I grew up in Gary, Indiana. My dad, he bought a house, and I think he, back then he paid like $15,000, or it was probably worth a 3-flat. That's what they were going for, right? It should have been worth, when I sold it should have been worth in the 100-something range. You know how much I sold that house for? You're not going to believe it. I sold that house for $7,000. $7,000. Why? It's either sell it for $7,000 or pay for the $5,000 to have it knocked down. No one has ever seen that, right? So when you make that decision, make an informed decision about the future, obviously there's risk and there's actually reward, but don't expect everything to go up. It should let you know, even in real estate. You got to make sure you got your sure bets, and obviously Chicago real estate is really good. We've seen it grow, but you know what? There are folks who have actually lost money in real estate. You're limited by what money you have to invest, and you're limited by your ability to see the future. Hang on for a second. Got to mute that person. Okay. You guys are there? Yeah, okay, great. So now, all right, so that's the basic 3 areas of making money, and then I promised you a 4th. If you're a spiritual person, there's actually a 4th way. And the 4th way is listen to the prophets and you shall prosper. And I will tell you, I've interviewed many business owners throughout my life, and the successful business owners, I always ask, how did you get into what you're doing? And they'll say, listen, someone told me about this, or my mom has asked me, my mom told me about this. There's that 4th way, is listen to the prophets and you shall prosper. And that's something, there's always a prophetic voice. If you're wanting to hear it, there's always a voice that'll tell you what you should do. And I tell you, that's like the 4th way. I mean, that's an extra credit. So, but really, where is money made? And I'm going to tell you where money's made. It's made in a particular conversation called the exchange conversation. That's where a person makes an offer and there's an acceptance. There's conditions of satisfaction, meaning what do I need to do to make you satisfied, right? But let me ask you a question. What holds us together? I'm going to tell you what holds us together. The only thing that holds 2 people together in the exchange conversation is trust. It's trust. And a lot of people can't, you know what, I'll just share this with you. Most money that, first of all, It's very difficult to teach the next generation how to make money. And most parents aren't able to teach their kids how to make money. And you know, there's a statistic that basically says that by the third generation, the 90% of all inheritance is already spent by the third generation. So let's say there's my generation, there's Rachel's kid, it's all gone. Whatever has been built, all the millions that are out there that have been produced by a person, by the third generation, it's gone. Why? Because the children never learn how to make money. And that's why most lottery winners, they go bankrupt. They do not know how to manage money. And they don't realize money's made in a linguistic domain, and a domain of relationships and communication. No, I read a book by Rabbi Lapin. Rabbi Lapin said that the way Jewish people make money and why they're so prosperous is they do two things. They're in relationships with others, and they solve people's problems. So that's something you got to really think about this trust. What is this trust? How do you define trust? A lot of people will say trust is just a feeling. You better be writing this stuff down. This is good stuff. I paid a lot of money for this part. And this has really blessed me all my life, is how to make an assessment of trust. You know, assessment is making a value of something that's logical and has factual base. So really, the way you basically make an assessment of trust is to divide trust into two areas. There's two things that come together, whether the person is competent and whether the person is sincere. And competent means the ability to do something. It's like competent means the ability to use a tool, to use something that will help them with what they want to do. And sincerity relates to whether they're telling you the truth. So let me tell you, so if someone says he's good at framing a door and he's good at varnishing the door, and you've seen, history, he's competent in doing that. But if he doesn't show up because he has a drinking problem, then there's a sincerity issue. It's key for you to know this difference. It's key for you to know the difference between competence and sincerity. Let me give you a case in point. Let's say Fernando, he has a date with someone, and he has a date for breakfast. Fernando is supposed to meet that person at the Golden Nugget on Diversey in Pulaski and say, hey, meet me there for breakfast. And the person doesn't show up. And then finally, around 5 o'clock, he gets a hold of that person. That person says, oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. I really apologize, Fernando. I really wanted to be there, but I went outside, and in the rain, first of all, my car didn't start to come. That's the one thing. It's dead. And second, when I got out of the car, my phone slipped and fell in the drain. I lost my phone. And I was spending all this time trying to get my phone back, and finally I had to go buy another phone. I asked Fernando, I said, what is that? Competence or sincerity? And you know what Fernando said? He said that was sincerity. It's because she lied to him. And the honest truth is that's not what the answer was. The answer was about her phone. The answer was about her car. That's about capability. That's about her ability. So when you have that distinction, that discernment that says, look, that's about competence and not about sincerity, then if this is how it could have been the sincerity issue. Let's say that when he called at 5 o'clock, she said, hey, I'm sorry, but my mom, she got really sick, or actually she broke her leg and I had to be with her all day. But then you just saw her mom at church and she didn't have crutches. So that's about sincerity. So one of the things that you could do, let's say that didn't happen. One of the things you could do is like, oh, I'll tell you what, why don't I meet with you? Where do you live? And the person says, look, I live on Western and Diversey. And he goes, hey, I'll tell you what, you live near the Golden Nugget over there? He loves the Golden Nugget, just to let you know. So he meets and listen, how far is the Golden Nugget? Golden Nugget is just like a half a block. Well, do you need a car for that? You need a cell phone? No, you don't need any of that. I'll tell you what, I'll meet you at 9 o'clock tomorrow, right? Then, if she doesn't show up, then it's an issue, right? But so what you do is you eliminate the issue of competence. When someone calls me in late, let's say I have people who work for me, many people, and they call me up and they'll tell me something about what happened. I'll ask them and I'll try to figure it out. I'm like, is there a snowstorm? Like I got folks in India show up late. I'm like, was there a tsunami or whatever? One of the storms that go through India at the time. And I'll check the weather, right, to see if they're lying to me, right? Because it's like, if they are lying to me, I'll just I'll make a note of it. And then I get to catch them in a third lie, and I'm like, well, it's time to replace the person, you know. So I'm making assessments like that. I don't try to make, quick judgments, but it's important for you to learn how to trust. And it ain't a feeling. It's like, I've got a feeling I could trust him. He looks, he has blue eyes. I'm like, I could trust the guy. And then, listen, I've been conned out of money in Gary, Indiana, almost killed one time. There's these guys that look, I could get you some Craigers for your Camaro. I'm like, what? Yes, I pulled out all this money. They drove me all around the city. They dropped me off at a good yield, thank God, and they didn't kill me. I got, well, I went looking for them. I never found them, but in any case, it's you get hurt when you've been betrayed like that, and it's all about trust. And that talks about the exchange conversation. But let me just kind of share this with you. So, the exchange, it's not just physical exchange. You got to exchange trust. You got to exchange credibility. You got to exchange reputation when you're in business. So showing up late, that just hurts it. It hurts you. Listen, how would I look if I have a mustache like that? How would I look? No, I don't have a mustache like that, do I? No, I don't have a facial hair. I have a short haircut. Why? I got to build trust, right? If I want someone to give me $100,000 for a placement, and we're almost there, we got $100,000 for $90,000 for a placement, right? You don't do that by not building trust, right? Right? You got to build trust. Whether it's for selling a hot dog or selling like a $90,000 placement, you got to build trust. And it all happens in language. One of the things you got to realize is that in this exchange conversation, if I give you what you told me the condition of satisfaction, I just satisfy you. I don't make you happy. And the one thing, in order for your business to grow, they say, listen, if you do something good, they only tell 3 people. You do something bad, they tell between 7 to 12 people about you doing bad. So you want people to tell you something good, right? So, and the way you have someone tell you something good is that you basically give them something for free. What do you mean, Ben? So I got to give something for free now? Listen, our agreement was just for this. No, listen, someone who paints the house, if that person says, look, you told me to paint the first floor. So what I did? I saw your bathroom downstairs. I saw how dirty it was. So I painted it, no charge, right? That will make that person happy. How many times have you been to a grocery store where they give you something for free? And I went to a grocery store. I still remember it. It's on Lawrence. The guy slipped a bottle of Fanta in there, orange Fanta. I still remember it, right? So you got to remember, in business, it's about the baker's dozen. You give them something for free. What's the baker's dozen? That's 13 donuts. 13 donuts. It's not to give everything for free. I'm just saying you can just give something for free, a little bit more. And what will happen is you'll get people who are they're happy. But first of all, in order for you to get into the exchange conversation, I forgot to mention, you got to be competent at what you want to exchange. So if in real estate, you have to be competent. If in whatever area, you have to be competent. And let me share this with you. So there's 5 levels of learning. Write this down, the 5 levels of learning, because you have to position yourself where you're at. So the first level of learning is called a bull in a china shop. A bull in a china shop is a person who doesn't know. As a bull, he walks in, he breaks everything, he walks out. He does not know he broke anything. And many people are like that. They're in their own lives. They don't know that they don't know. That's the worst thing. Someone who doesn't know that they don't know, it's not worth even, why argue with the guy? He just doesn't know, right? So the next level after that is called beginner. And a beginner is someone who knows that they don't know, right? That's a beginner. The next level is called competent. That's just someone who's just able to do the activity, in just a fairly average fashion, but gets the work done. And then the level above that is called master level. This is where they have those processes down. They could repeat them, and it's almost in their body. The next level is virtuoso. And that's a level where they actually perform all the activity, and you basically say, whoa, this is a performance. And we try to get to virtuoso level. Like we have a presentation process called the 4D process, discovery, diagnosis, design, and delivery. And we get that process, we practice it so much that it's like a scripted play. It's literally, and when you do like a training program, when you know they're at virtuoso level when they have it scripted. When it's scripted down to the T, and it's same result, same everything, it's a virtuoso. But you know what's interesting? You know what's the level above virtuoso? What's the next level? The next level is go back and become a beginner. And that's what happened with me when I lost everything. I moved up to master level. I also had a head as a, and then when I lost it all, it was like you could hear the air just come out of my brain here, you know, just shrinking. And then I had to start over again and start it all afresh, start everything afresh. And this is about life. This is about learning, and this is about moving forward. So that's about being competent. You got to be competent. You got to know where you are in an area and be very, very competent. In addition, so one of the other items I want to share with you is that in order for you to succeed, you got to make unique offers. Your offers that you make to people have to be very unique. And guess what? They just have to be 5 minutes before the next person. Do you know that the phone was invented there was someone that almost beat Alexander Graham Bell to the patent office by 2 hours. This is with horse and buggies. 2 hours is like 2 minutes, 2 seconds. He basically beat Elijah Gray out of that patent. We would have known Alexander Graham Bell. We wouldn't even have known him. So what I'm saying is you have to make unique offers, and you have to make it before other people make that offer. And they just have to be simple offers. Nothing complicated. Very simple offers. That's what I try to teach people. I mentor a young man in the inner city. I teach him, just make simple offers. Listen, I could clean your windows. I could clean your house. I could paint your deck. Simple, simple, simple stuff. So the third area that I wanted to share with you that where I see people missing is they're missing in an area of where they systemize their business. And I want to share this with you is that they really don't document their processes. They really don't know how to create an input, process, output. They don't know how to flow chart. They don't know the process. And I have a video that's called The 7 Conversations. That's something, if you get a chance to, it's on YouTube. Listen to the 7 conversations, because what I do is I give you a way of you conversing in 7 different ways that will give you everything that you need in a business. You know, from the conversation of possibility to conversation of wholeness. I cover all that. You have to have a method, a methodology, a system in place. Let me share this with you. Everything that you do in business, it's either a project or it's a system. Yeah, it's so simple. Business is 2 things. When you go work for someone, you're either working on a project or you're working on a system. That's it. Either you're in the system or you're creating it, right? Why is it? Okay, so a project that has frequency, in other words, you do a project and it's going to be repeated and repeated and repeated, that's a system. And you documented a system. But it's a project, like for instance, this logo was developed, right? One time and it was developed. That's a project. Whoever developed it, that's a project, right? So business is very simple, but one of the things that you got to really have is a mindset, a philosophy when it comes to systems, and this is this, that every frustration is a lack of a system. You know, write that down, because every frustration that you have in life is a lack of a system. You miss paying bills, you miss paying your dog, you may miss this, you miss this. You have to have, it's a system that's missing. So, hang on, so it's a system that's missing in your life. And it's very simple to put these systems together. All successful businesses, they basically document those systems in what they call an operational process procedure, operational manual. If you go to Starbucks, in order to do a setup, you know, when they put their Christmas items out at Starbucks, they send it with a 3-inch binder, right? Everything's documented. And it's not that difficult. We use a package called Sweet Process that documents our processes. And it has allowed me to basically have 3 different front ends, but 1 operation in the back. We do an amazing amount of work. The thousands of people that we contact, at least 2,000 people we contact a week. And we do it, you know, without, it's like I said, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. Like there's all these things are turning in the background. And that's basically done by having a system philosophy, system mindset. So this is something I wanted to share with you. This is what I saw with business owners is one, they need to make a transition from being a technician to being a business owner. And when you do that, your life will change. It's all a simple mindset change, right? It's a mindset change. As soon as you change your mindset, you'll be drawn to that area. Two, think about how money is really made. It's made in the domain of trust, and your job is to build trust, build your competence in an area. And three, having a system mindset and realizing it ain't about the person, it's about the process. And if you take ownership of that, you really start building a great business. And so what